Hey guys, so in our last video we talked about blue light problems and all the things that can come up with that, why blue light hits our body a certain way and why that creates certain things that we don't like to happen in our body. So today's all about the solutions, like what do we actually do about that, how do we make it move forward? So we're going to be talking about three separate things. The first one we're going to be talking about is getting your electronics under control. Because when most people are talking about blue light, they're talking about the blue light that's coming from electronics, because this is probably the most intense and the most persistent type of blue light that we get. So whether it's your computer or your tablet or your phone, like they're all throwing off this intense blue LED light from a pretty short distance away onto the skin, onto the eyes. So the very first tip is the most obvious, which is we want to avoid if possible. And this isn't like, throughout your electronics, but remember what we've talked about in a couple previous videos, the timing is really important throughout the day. So first thing in the morning and last thing at night is when we're supposed to have the least amount of blue light or even no blue light going on, because it really messes with our circadian rhythm and throws off various other processes. So my best recommendation is 15 to 30 minutes in the morning. Don't look at any electronics, like get your day going, eat your breakfast, but don't look at your phone or like hop on your computer first thing in the day. It really messes things up. Same thing at night. If you can give yourself a little bit more time before bed, my recommendation is 30 minutes to an hour before bed if you can avoid having blue light shining on you. Because this is obviously right before you go to sleep, and this is going to have the biggest impact on your melatonin production or messing that up, which can then create sleep problems, which a lot of people are dealing with. So again, when we're talking about migraine headaches, we want to make sure we're getting good rest. So that's step number one, the obvious one. Just avoid it if you can, especially at those key points of the day. Next thing that we're looking at is you can actually do some things internally with your computer or your electronics that will make the light coming off your screen different. So a lot of phones at least have something called night shift. If you haven't looked at that, it's pretty easy. And actually in the description below, there's a very exact way to do that. And actually I'm going to be throwing out a bunch of different recommendations for all of this. If I mention anything specifically, just check out the description of this video. You can click on the link. Don't feel like you have to memorize everything right now. So there's a night shift that you can do. So you can either turn this on at night. What I've done personally is I just set it so it runs the entire day. So my phone always kind of has an orangey glow, but then it doesn't have like this really intense blue light. So that's what I did for me. There's also apps. So for whatever reason, Apple doesn't seem to have very good apps for this. Android has a few that you can choose from. So if you just type in blue light, you'll get a few different options. And what we'll do is you can kind of set the tone of the color that you want coming off your screen at different times during the day. So again, you want to turn down the amount of blue. Sometimes it will actually allow you to select your temperature. So really intense is going to be more close to 6,000. Like straight red is going to be more close to 1,800. So usually somewhere around like that 3,000, 2,500 is like a really good temperature setting if that app gives you the choice to do that. The last thing you can actually do is there's physical filters that you can put on your screens. So I've seen it more for phones, but I think there is some for computers as well. I know there's a company called iJust, and again, that's in the description below. But essentially, it looks like a screen protector, but you slap it on the screen, and it acts as a blue light filter. So that's another option is like if you don't want to be like thinking about it or all that, you can actually just put like a filter that will keep some of that blue light out for you as it's coming off your screen. So those are three things to consider. You want to get your electronics under wraps the best that you can, because this is probably the biggest offender when we're talking about blue light. The next thing we want to talk about is taking care of yourself personally. So there's a couple different things here, and blue light blocker glasses is my first recommendation for you. So same idea here, like if we have this intense blue light shining on us, it's really nice to have a little shield before it's blasting your eyes. And there's actually 4 different hues of glasses that you can get. So I just want to touch base on that because I was really confused when I first started like looking for blue light blockers. I'm like, why is there like all these different colors? So for blue light blockers, there's lenses that look completely clear. Like it just looks like normal glasses. You wouldn't be able to tell anything from it. And then they're advertised as blue light blockers. So that's true to an extent. What we talked about in some previous videos is light comes off at different frequencies and wavelengths. And the only reason I'm mentioning this is because not only is that true of different colors, but also within the blue light spectrum, there's different frequency wavelengths of blue. So when we have clear glasses and they say that it's a blue light blocker, essentially what it does is it filters one wavelength of blue, and it's 450 nanometers if you care. But essentially that's what is talked about as like, the worst type of blue light. So that one takes care of the biggest offender, but then there's also all these different other frequencies of blue light that are still going to get to your eyes. So it's a good start, but I don't think it's necessarily comprehensive for that blue light exposure. The second tint that comes up is called amber. And these are actually ambers. So these are nice from the standpoint of they look almost completely clear. There's like a slightly orangish, yellowy hue if you like really take a close look at it. These are really nice because they get almost all of the blue light frequencies. They just allow like a little bit of turquoise because some people say like can actually be like beneficial. But the idea is, again, we want to like stop this huge blast of blue, and amber takes care of a lot of it. And they still look pretty nice. Like, again, unless you're looking really closely, they pretty much look like clear glasses. I got these from Felix Gray. I really liked them. Links down below. Another tint that comes up is going to be like this orange. And like, obviously, you can tell it's orange. So this is really nice because it takes care of all blue light and also all of green light. So this is more like when we're getting to bed kind of thing, like blue and green frequencies start going out the window like as the sun is setting and we're getting more geared up for bed. So I really like the orange after the sun sets, before bedtime. Like, especially if I'm kind of in that window where I'm like looking at a couple things on my phone, or like I'm setting my alarm for the night. Like just anytime I'm gonna be interacting with the screen at night, I always put my orange blockers on. That's a really nice way to do it. And that blocks most of those offensive frequencies that come up. The last one is there's actually red as well. So this pretty much blocks everything besides red light. So like you really just look like you're seeing red. I think that's overkill in a lot of situations. I have a pair, I'll throw them on sometimes like right before I go to bed if I'm like setting my alarm or whatever, just to like really make sure I'm not getting any of that blue light. But again, this is kind of like really cutting down most frequencies. So I wouldn't say you feel like you need to do that. I would stick more with the orange if you want to be like able to walk around your house without bumping into things. But those are the 4 different types, and that's like how you should be thinking about that as you're making your decision on that. So glasses are a great way to keep out blue light in certain situations. I like it when anytime I'm looking at electronic, that's like a must for me at this point. I also like it like if I know I'm going into a store, like I've been surprised now that I've been doing this for a while when I walk into like, you know, a Target or something that has like all these fluorescent lights, and if you're not used to looking at it, like it can feel pretty intense once you desensitize yourself to it. And you start to appreciate like how bright some of these lights actually are. So if I know I'm gonna be in a situation where there's gonna be like really bright, intense light, or if I'm looking at my screens, that's when I like to put mine on. Second thing I want to touch base on is your skin actually does interact with light. So the research over the past 5 years is just like exploding, showing how much we have in terms of these pigments in our skin. So chromophores, photophores, and a lot of the things that are found in our eyes, they're also found in our skin. So our body interacts with light way more than anybody knew, even like, again, 5 years ago. So all that to say, again, like if you know you're going to be going out for the night, if you're going out to a restaurant, or if you're going to be in a situation where you're indoors where there's going to be a lot of blue light again, especially at nighttime, covering your skin up the best you can is a great way to counteract some of the effects that can come up with blue light, where that's like wearing some longer clothing. For women, if you're wearing makeup, this can actually be a beneficial situation when you're blocking some of that light. So just to say, or if you're going to be sitting in front of your screen, like some people even like put on a hoodie kind of thing, like just figure out what works for you, but understand that blue light does interact with your skin, and that's another layer to consider. The last thing I want you to think about is like your environment, particularly your house. Like what are some other things you can do to make sure that your environment's as good as possible? So the first thing I want to talk about is blackout blinds. A lot of people will talk about this just like for circadian rhythm, sleep kind of stuff. When we put these in, and these are like blinds or shades that essentially are like 100% black or don't really let any light through whatsoever. What I was really surprised by is like how much ambient light actually does come in from outside. Like we have street lamps pretty close to our house. And so any artificial light's gonna have a good amount of blue with it. So if you have any artificial light coming into your house, then that can start to mess with circadian rhythm and all that stuff as well. So blackout blinds, particularly when you're guarding your sleep, is a really nice way to make sure that you're not letting any of that ambient light in that could be messing with things. This one, I was shocked how much of a difference this made for us. So just black electrical tape for anything that's throwing off some light. So the example I want to give is we used to have a TV in our room, and it just had like a power indicator light. So whenever we plugged it in, it would have this blue light that was on. You didn't really notice it during the day, and then at night, it would light up like 50% of the room. Like you could really see pretty easily with just that tiny blue light that was illuminating the entire room. So literally just a piece of black tape this big over the top of that, cut all that out, then we didn't have like all this blue light just shining over the top of us at night. So again, like even things like if your microwave throws off a bunch of light, like just figure out like if you turn off all your lights at night and see what's really shining brightly, that's a great place to start. And again, it's usually super easy. You can just kind of throw it up and then the next day it's not usually a big deal to just take that off and you can see your clock or whatever you need to. Last thing I want to talk about is you can actually buy different types of light bulbs. So everything I've set up until this point is like, hey, all artificial light is going to be throwing off a ton of blue light. People are starting to appreciate that more, and there's actually companies that are starting to take this really seriously, where they're redesigning the bulbs. They've gone back to the drawing board to like, hey, how do we actually make a light that's artificial but can interact with our bodies in a way that's not like super insulting and it's going to affect our normal physiology. So again, in the links I got a couple companies down there. But similar conversation to what we had with the glasses, there's different hues available. So there's amber light and then there's red light. So same thing, amber light's really nice for the middle of the day. It's gonna look pretty similar to the bulb that's like already in your socket. Then the red lights we really like for at night. So again, like the sun goes down, everything's dark. Like if you turn on all these bright fluorescent lights, your body's confused. It starts to think it's the middle of the day again and it starts to get confused. But if you can turn on these red lights, we've been pretty surprised about like how just like even a couple bulbs in a couple key locations can pretty much give us all the light that we need. But then again, you can still see what you need to, but you're not getting this big blue insulting light. So check out the description links, the links in the description, and then I got the couple different companies that I recommend there for you. But that's another thing to consider is you can actually get bulbs that are going to put off light that's much, much better for your body. So this is a great, fantastic way to get started. If you can even start to take action in any one of these categories, you're going to put yourself way ahead of the game. So I really encourage you to feel the difference as we move through the process. Because again, I was shocked, like even after a week, like going back to trying to turn on a light in the middle of the night, like it felt very insulting. So it's pretty incredible what our bodies get used to. We've been very desensitized to all these super bright lights that we're interacting all the time, especially with our electronics. So I really encourage you to just like take this really seriously for a week and then see how you feel afterwards. And I can guarantee that you're going to notice a big difference. So check out the links in the description again. Make sure you follow us in our social media. Make sure you subscribe here on YouTube so you can continue to stay up to date on information. We're really just scratching the surface here, so I'm excited to continue to dig deeper on even more of these layers that are coming up for you. But excited to continue that conversation. We'll see you forward.